Good. Okay. All right, let's jump right into it. Some changes we made on the website here the last couple of nights. I just want to make sure you're aware of them. First being, if you go to the trading floor, this won't take very long. We'll run through it real quickly. I added this navigation bar here. So if this hopefully will help you out a little bit, because some people have been asking to be able to look at the our trade history, you know, what we're currently positioned in, and our trade history and that type of thing. And can't hear me real well. Hold on one second. I'm having some audio problems. I drink chai. You can't hear me right now? Hold on, everybody. Let me test the audio settings here. If anybody else has audio problems, let me know. How's that? Can everybody hear me now? Yeah, all right. Now we're in business. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Okay, so I figured it out. I want to go over real quickly a couple of the new features on the website, and then we'll go into some charts. I'm just going to show you a couple of trades I made today and why I made them. And then at the end of that, we'll go through some of your chart requests and just wrap it up. You know, we won't keep you all night, but if you have questions, then you know, bring them up toward the end and raise your hand, and I'll get to you, and we'll get you on the air, and we'll see what's going on. All right, first thing is on the trading floor. First feature that I added over the last couple of days, and some were after the market today, so this may be completely new to all of you, is this navigation bar. It's sub-navigation. You have the Boom Factory, Canals Trades, My Trades, Economic Calendar, and Futures, and then News Feed. Right now, I just set this up for Canals, so it's not, his isn't live yet, but we'll get that going probably here pretty soon, so you can at least see his trade history and my trade history. And then if you want to know what did we trade last week if you're out of town and that kind of thing. So mine is active right now, so if you click on mine, it's just a Google document that I've embedded in here for you guys to look at. Down here at the bottom, you can look at the months. So March, current month, and if it's highlighted in this kind of bluish color, and those are open positions, because you'll note that this column is date closed and there isn't a date on it for like cat calls. These are my current open positions. So you can look at that at any time and see what I'm in and what I've closed. So 14th and 11th, these are the ones I've traded down here. So it's been doing okay. I haven't had huge winners, but been pretty consistently gaining, and that's kind of what matters in a choppy market, is to just kind of keep your money in your pocket a little bit. So that's one thing that we've added. You'll have something similar for Canal soon. Economic Calendar and Futures, it's what it says it is. The first thing you'll open up to is the Economic Calendar. It's in a window, so if you scroll down, you can actually go to tomorrow or previous, that kind of thing. And you can also expand them. So let's click on this one, or the import price index. If you hit this plus sign, it has an expanded view of it. What it's defined as, there's a chart with history of what the support looks like. So it's a useful tool for Economic Calendar. I just pulled that off of Future Pros, excuse me. And then you can also look at the futures by clicking on futures on the left side. I put a lot of the commodities on top. The S&Ps here. The US dollar is down here, and then gold and copper. I like to watch copper and SPX to get a good feel of how the market's going to open the next day. Copper should move with the general markets a lot of times. It implies that there's production. Copper's a good indicator of growth in production. Okay, let's go back to the trading floor. So that's economic calendars. Also have a news feed. If you see this little arrow, that means it's just going to be a pop-up. And the news feed is exactly what it sounds like it is. I'm pulling in news feeds from the Fly on the Wall, which is a great news feed service, and a few others. And if you want to, you can just leave this open, push it out of the way. You can refresh the page by clicking here, and you'll get the latest news feeds. All right, so let me get that out of the way. Now here's the big change I made today that is something I made after hours. There's a lot of discussion toward the close of the market about not being able to see the screen. It's too wide, it's too small, can't do much with it, you know, on and on and on. So I made a few changes. Let's try it out for a couple days, and you guys let me know what you think. Maybe not a permanent fix, but more of a near-term fix to help you with your different monitor screen sizes and that kind of thing. So the first thing I did was I added this launch pop-up for the latest trade alerts. Okay, so you can launch that, and it opens a browser that's just the latest bulls trades, so it doesn't have the chat room. Okay, so if you just want to see this, great, there it is for you, right? So you can move it around, put it wherever you want to put it, that kind of thing. So latest trades has its own pop-up now, and then on the Boom Factory back here on the left, you'll see there's a full and light. The full version is what you're used to seeing, right? The normal chat room with the latest bull trades listed on the right side. Okay. Now, there isn't much in the way you can do for resizing here. Some of you are having a hard time viewing all this. So what I've done was I created a Boom Factory Lite. So if you open that up, all it is the actual trading floor or the chat room. You notice it's missing the latest bull trades. But the great thing about this is you can grab the corner of the browser and it resizes it for you down to about that. It's about as small as you can get it. But if you want it bigger, you can also get it bigger as well. So you have quite a bit of control over the size of the chat window. You know, you can even make it this small, and it basically blocks out the view of who's in the room, right? So you can just look at the chat room. So you might want to try this out. You can open this window and the latest bulls trade window. You know, put them over each other. Resize this one really big, and have this one in the background. I just want to give you a little more flexibility, and hopefully that's something you guys will find useful. If you want to just use the chat room as it is today, again, it's the full link on the Boom Factory. Okay, so that's that. So we covered the new links here on the trading floor and the pop-up for the latest trades. I also added a couple features to the swing corner for those of you who are swinging. Added another sub-navigation. This first tab is swing chart patterns. This is more for education. I'm going to start putting in here over the next week or so setups that I really like for swings. These can be used intraday as well, I guess, but I primarily use them for swing trades. I only put one in here today. I call it the Big Wick. Very common. A lot of people are familiar with it. Some of these are not going to be anything you haven't seen before, but many of you are also beginners, so it helps to put some well-known trade setups or chart setups for swinging all in one place. And then I've got, this is going to be a market temperature space. I'm going to start working on this tomorrow. This will give you my feel of the overall market, where we're headed, am I bullish, am I bearish, because I get asked that a lot. Just, you know, how do I feel? So this will be a market temperature, and I'll take into consideration some of the key components of measuring the market strength, you know, including the dollar and copper, like I mentioned earlier, the transports, the industrials, the financials, a couple things that people consider market leaders. I'll also take a look at the S&P 500 as a whole, and also recently got an IBD 50 or an IBD membership, so we can look at the IBD 50 and I can kind of assess the market overall that way. So keep an eye on the market temperature. I should probably start getting that going here in the next couple days. Risk analyzer, more to come there. It's just basically going to give you an idea of how much risk I'm thinking of putting into the market right now. You know, how, is the market ready? Does it kind of correlates to temperature, but you'll see more of a risk analyzer later. Now on the swing watch list, most of you have already seen this. This is a watch list. This is a watch list of stocks I'm looking at that are kind of lower risk swing setups, and this view is kind of the smaller view. It just has the entry I'm looking for, some notes, the day I added it, you know, the ticker symbol, stuff like that. If you want to see the full view of my watch list, click on this link here. Click here for detailed view. And you probably can't see it all in your screenshot now, but it has more data on it, has more information. Okay? So you can open the full one that way. So those are some of the new features that I've added to the site. I hope they're helpful. If they're not, tell me. Or if you think that it makes more sense to do something else with it, let me know. I don't want to clutter the site and fill it with useless information. So again, hope this helps. And a good place to tell me whether this stuff is working for you is go to the forum, which is another area that I added over the weekend. That right now it's more of a feedback forum. I'm going to add some other stuff, new categories, new topics coming soon, but for now it's generally feedback, and I'm going to go through this every couple of days, and as will Kanal, and we'll see what you guys are talking about, and we'll participate in the forum. Like the first feedback and idea generator, education, for example. You know, what would you like to learn more about? And Trade for Profit wants to learn more about bull flag breakouts. Okay, so this helps us prepare webinars for you guys. We like to do a lot more of them around education, setups, what have you. So webinar topics, education, features you would like to see in the Boom Factory, or changes you would like to see. You know, I heard you guys mention you want to be able to minimize the list of people who are there, or get that kind of that window out of there of the people that are currently online. We already talking through that one. And just general website features excluding the Boom Factory, report bugs. If you want new forum topics you want to add in there, put that. And then the Boom Factory projects in development, Boom Factory chat room. There's a half dozen of things that I've already listed that we're currently working on. So check that list before you put it as an idea. All right, so that's a fast rundown of new features on the site. Hope you like them. I hope they work for you. We're still working on some of the stability issues we had, like this morning in the chat room. We had some problems with stability, is kicking people out. So we're working through that. We're working through our hosting company. The problem is on their end, not to pass the blame, but I think I will. So that's it. Let's go ahead and jump into some stocks, shall we? First, let's look at the. I'm just going to go over the SPX real quick, give you my opinion on it, and let's start big and go small. Okay. Oh, sorry about all the lines. Maybe I should get rid of some of these. Hold on 1 second while I remove some of these, make it cleaner and easier to work with. All right. First things first, I'm looking at the weekly on the S&P. You know, if you're just trying to get a feel what the market's doing, start big and go small. And first thing I drew out was bottom left here. I think you can see all this. Yeah. Okay. bottom left all the way up to the high. So you take a recent runs low and a recent runs high, run high, and I drew the fib lines, fib retracements, and I'm hoping you can see this, but these are the lines. So here's 23.6%, 38.2% retracement. Oftentimes stocks will either find fib lines as resistance or support, right? If you haven't heard about Fibonacci retracements, you might want to go learn a little bit about it. It's helpful. It's good to find stocks that truly do follow it, and then you can kind of just stick to those rules. Now, where we are right now, let's zoom in a little bit. Took the high, and now we're on a trend line, okay? Took the high from back in 07, drew it all the way down, and we had these two recent taps on that trend line. So I established a 3-point trend line, which is now acting as resistance. So in my book, until we get over this trend line, we are at the top of a range. We appear to be trying to pull back. Now this is just based on the weekly to this fib line here, which is a 1269. That'd be a pretty healthy pullback considering we're at 1296 right now. But we're in between two fibs, okay? So whether we're looking at the weekly or the daily or an individual stock or an indices like the SPX 500 here, being in the middle between two fibs is kind of a neutral zone, kind of a no man's zone, excuse me, and not necessarily set up for the trade, okay? And we've been kind of talking about it lately that the market's been choppy. You know that. You've seen it. It's been running around in choppy land, and this kind of confirms it. What we'd like to see is test of Fibonacci, like you see it down here. See this test on this pullback? Test, test, test. Never did break below it, and then it bounced above it, which confirmed the support in the next leg up. Now we're kind of in the no man's land, waiting to see if it pulls back. Maybe it'll break below it. We don't know. So for swingers, looking at the very, very big picture, you know, we're not overly confident or not overly positioned. Let's put it that way. Not confident in either direction. Now let's go ahead and jump down to the daily and see what we can see. All right, there's that resistance line I was referring to back on the weekly. Make it a little bigger. Chop, chop, chop. Everything's just chop lately. And one candle engulfs another, and then, you know, on and on. These large ranges on these down days are generally bearish when you have large down day ranges and then small up day ranges. So in my opinion, we're still in a bearish downtrend. Now, you know, some people like it's just a correction. That's fine, it may be. But there were a couple of points I was watching today that even though we pulled back to the end of through the end of the day, we didn't finish where I'm comfortable in, right? From a bull standpoint, from the long side. And what are those points? The number one is take the recent low. You know, this is support low, kind of in this area, but recent low is really on this candle right here. Okay, this stretch below on this shadow. So I was looking for it to hold this range today, because as you noticed yesterday, it pretty much opened there and moved up. So I was turning a little bullish yesterday, meaning Friday. Sorry guys. I was turning a little bullish on Friday because it bounced off this low and finished above SMA 50, which is this red line here. So that's, you know, it's kind of bullish, but it's not a confirmed bull because you didn't engulf this red candle, so you didn't prove that this candle prior isn't still in charge. The volume down here below is actually lower or less than the sell volume on Thursday. The moving MACD, or the MACD, excuse me, down here at the bottom, no uptick. No reason to believe it was moving in the bullish direction on Friday. Unbalanced volume, still below the unbalanced volume moving average of 20. So you know, a lot of people on Friday was saying, oh, this is the bounce. And it, you know, it could have been, but there was no real reason to put a lot of money into it to bet against the market here at that point, right? So here we are to today. Got a little hammer going here, but the thing that worries me the most is, again, these indicators below are still in bearish or not necessarily reversal candidates. But what I don't like is that we finished below SMA 50. So SMA 50 did not hold on the SPX 500 today, or S&P 500 today. So if I'm seeing this intraday and I'm in some long positions, I'm probably reducing some of those positions. You know, it depends on the position itself, right? If it has a lot of volume and it's finishing at the high of the day and there's Momo, it's understandable trying to hold it overnight. But if you have any that are showing neutral ground or some weakness, where you're considering adding to your long swing positions, again, this is different than intraday. Today might have been a day to hesitate on that until we confirm that we're leaving this correction period. You know, I'm not sure when I'm going to call it a reversal versus a correction, but for now, I'm just going to call it a correction. You know, if it gets down, this is the Fibonacci I was talking about earlier, which is the 1269 range. If it gets below that, it's a true correction. If it gets down there and bounces, then it's, you know, it may just be trading in a big box that we haven't developed yet. So that's a quick view on the SP. Well, I don't know about how quick, but there's a view on SPX. NASDAQ, kind of the same story. Here are those lows I'm looking for back here. It's looking a little stronger because it hasn't fallen below those lows. It did fall below recent lows, these two shadows here. Again, nothing here to show that we're positive. But the good news, and you may see it, you know, you see it more the NASDAQ. It's a pretty tight trading range these last 3 days. The range intraday is pretty tight. That often signals the end of a direction if they're creating a little island like that. So we may be near bottom. It's hard to say. I'm not going to bet on it one way or the other, right? I'm going to let the trade come to me. I don't like that SMA 10 is below SMA 20. I never do from a swing standpoint. And SMA 10 is actually starting to fall below SMA 50. Quick look at the SPY. Same story, nothing new. It did finish in a tight range, which is somewhat optimistic for me. But notice that intraday it went up to SMA 50 and then failed it. If we look at the 3-minute, so let's take it into intraday. Let me take it to a cleaner chart. Here's the intraday right here. This yellow line is where the SPY closed yesterday. So there's the gap down. And then it tried to come back, but it never succeeded. It never even got back to the pivot point. And I'm going to talk a little bit about pivots here in a second. So, you know, yeah, let's go straight into 3 minutes. We might as well, since it looks a lot like the SPX. You see, and I guess I'll just go straight into the pivots as well. I'm going to take you to this daily chart because it's going to be a little easier to see. I'm going to add pivots in here. And I'm on freestockcharts.com if anybody's looking. So pivot points, take it away from daily and take it to 3 minute. I usually use 3 minute. A lot of people use 5 minute. But so good stuff. All right, easier to look at, right? Added. So here's the gap down. Here's the attempted 3 minute move back up to the open to fill the gap. It didn't even get back to the pivot. Went down, fell down. At this point, if I'm thinking adding long, just to as an overall view, of course there's individual stocks that are always going to be in play. I'm not ready yet because it failed to fill this gap. It failed to move. It failed to hit the pivot and stay. So I'm watching it pull back. Here's one of those really long candles on high volume. See this volume bar down here. Hopefully you can see that. It's really small. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this volume bar down here. You had long extended wick or shadow, excuse me, and it went all the way down to this support line on SPY, which let me show you the daily so I can show you where that comes from. See this right here? Basically drew out. Here we go. I connected this bottom trend line, these trend line points, and you see that today it went all the way down to the bottom and touched this trend line support, but didn't fall below it, so that's a good sign. But it also didn't break their SMA 50, so that's not a good sign. So we're trapped right now. SPY is absolutely trapped between trend line support and S&P 500. So let's take you back to the 3-minute. It fell slightly below this. So I'm sorry. There's your extended candle. That normally means a reversal pattern. When you see that, it's really long extended like that. It did reverse. It went back up. I'm not ready to buy quite yet because notice the volume down here on that move is much less than the sell volume prior. So it's not a strong move up. It immediately fails S1 or support 1 on your pivots. Chops around. Comes back to life a little bit once it gets through the support line again. But has a hard time with S1, fails again, has a hard time with S1, and then gets above it and finishes neutral between S1 and pivot, which is the yellow dash. So from an overall market standpoint, this, if you're just looking at the SPY, this didn't do anything today. Yeah, you did have a bounce, but the SPY, we're thinking overall market view, right? It didn't finish above the high of the morning, so it finished below its highs. It finished below pivot and never filled the gap. So for me, I look at this as, and it never, you can see these resistance points. This is yesterday's drop, and it failed right at that low right there. I see today as what's going on with Japan? What's going on with Japan? Freaking out. Oh, maybe it's not as bad as it's going to be. Maybe they have the nuclear stuff under control. Oh, they're going to need us to help them rebuild their country, but I'm not really sure. So here's where we finished. That's kind of how I interpret that. Now, individual plays. So swingers, what we're looking for, before I get into individual plays, swingers, what are we looking for? We're looking for, back on the daily of the SPY, let's just use the SPY. Let's try to get above SMA 50, which is this purplish-y looking line, and hold it. Ideally, we start working on this gap up here. We start getting up above this wick from Friday, and we start doing some filling, okay? Filling up in here, get above the EMA 20. That is when you start seeing more buyers. Obviously, the real time to start considering adding to swing positions, in my opinion, is above this trend line resistance.